Is David Michery's compensation destroying Mullen Automotive? Hi again, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Happy weekend. So obviously last week we finished the stock heavily in the red with another big sell-off coming on Friday. That was despite a bit of momentum that we picked up on Thursday, which started the session off on Friday up high, but we ended up crashing down, losing by about 12% on the day. So as a result of that, Mullen Automotive will be back on the short seller restricted list come next week, but it's never really done much to help us out in the past. Now, obviously, big talking points this week have obviously been the proposals that are being voted on for the shareholder meeting on August 3. And, we've sort of, one of the headlines was that they're like putting in, the framework so that if necessary, a reverse stock split can occur again. And it was quite controversial in the sense that the initial announcement said that it would be between 1 for 2 and 1 for 10, which made a lot of sense because it means that the stock split, if another stock split was to carry out, it means that the stock hadn't been manipulated by more than 1 to 250, which actually means it's, the NASDAQ basically says it's like, well, you don't actually qualify for a 180-day listing extension when you breach your listing status. So that's why that was in there. But I guess, but that was actually amended to say 1 for 100 instead of 1 for 10, which would, significantly boost the stock value, but at the same time would put it against that NASDAQ listing. But, to be honest, that means the stock would have to fall back below $1. And, if you were to do a reverse stock split today of Mullen Automotive, the stock price would end up being over $20 per share if you were to do it for a reverse stock split value of 1 for 100. So I sort of talked about that a little bit in my earlier video on this. But the other issue, which is quite interesting, and we've kind of been talking about it even before this latest round of voting was to come out, and that was David Michery's compensation. So it's no secret that David Michery in the past has basically sold most or given away most of his stocks that he has been issued as the CEO of the company. It's obviously his right to do it, but bottom line is it's never been a good look for the company when your CEO is dumping the stock. Now, that's obviously doesn't give confidence to investors in the company when the CEO isn't willing to hold the stock. You look at someone like Elon Musk, I know different situation, but Elon Musk, when Tesla was on the rise, was doing everything he could to hold as much Tesla stock as he could and ended up being the world's richest man. When he stops dumping his stock like he did to buy Twitter, Tesla's stock value started tumbling. So David Michery, I don't know if he's aware of his actions doing the same thing. Now, that aside, so one of the things that's being voted on for the August 3 meeting is the milestone compensation package for David Michery. Now, he already has a base salary package worth $6 million. I think it's a combination of some stock as well as money. But what is being voted on is a number of milestones for further compensation. Now, this isn't uncommon in public companies. And I know that Mullen being a startup company, this sort of stuff can be quite generous because there is actually, while the company's going terribly stock-wise, operationally to get things up and running for a company like Mullen, and especially when you consider the ambitions that they have, it's quite actually a big job. So I do understand that there could be some sweeteners in there for him. However, there's a bit of debate over whether or not they are perhaps a little too sweet, I guess you could say. So obviously, a big one is that for every 25 million worth of vehicles that David Michery is able to deliver, I think before 2024, he's actually allowed to receive 1% of the outstanding float. So they'll create new shares and give it to him, which will add a bit of dilution. So keeping that in mind, we have a $279 million worth of orders from Marion already. Now, whether or not they're all going to get delivered in this time frame is another matter. But if that all goes through in this period, he's going to actually be able to get 10 to 11 1% installations of Mullen Automotive stock. Now, that's not just 11%. That's going to be compounded because it's 1% on the outstanding float. So 1%, 1%, 1%. So he's going to end up getting about 12% of the float just from that deal alone. Furthermore, he's up for 3% just for getting the vehicles roadworthy. I think that's the right thing. So even before they start delivering vehicles, once that Class 3 van that all these sales are in meets roadworthy standards, he gets another 3%, which again will dilute shareholders and compound when he starts delivering the vehicles. And I think there's a couple of other things in there for raising money. So I think if he can raise an extra $100 million, like he just has to sell more shares to Custos Capital or something like that, or even take out a loan, he's entitled to get another, I think it was like 1 or 2%. I can't remember the actual figures for that one. And then there was also, if there are improvements in the battery technology for Muln Automotive's vehicles, he's entitled to get another 3%. Now, obviously, I don't know if this qualifies, but with the whole MAO deal with Lawrence Hodge, that's obviously going to improve the life of Muln batteries. Now, I don't know whether that counts per se, like by attaching these devices, does Mullen's battery suddenly qualify and meets the criteria for Dave Michery being able to claim the 3% stock bonus for that? I don't know, but I haven't looked at it totally in depth, but there would possibly be some caps on how many of these milestones he can achieve. But we're like, just what I've gone through so far, we're looking at like over 15% of common stock being given to Dave Michery on top of his $6 million salary. So that's quite a lot. Now, obviously, there's expectations that the stock value will start to bounce back once deliveries start being made. So there will be some, obviously return to shareholder value, but they're just throwing shares at him, and at the moment, like, it just sort of feels like the board's not quite reading the room. Obviously, Dave Michery needs to deliver these things, and it's all great operationally, but you've got to ask questions. Is like they're setting targets based on things which look like they're already in motion. Now, I'd like to get some further clarification, like particularly these sales targets, if these sales targets apply to further sales beyond what's already been confirmed. But I guess you can't confirm these sales. Even though we've got $279 million worth of reserve vehicles, there's actually no guarantee any of them will be sold because, that there's deposits taken, but people can actually back out of those deals. But you kind of think at least a decent number of them will be delivered, provided the vehicle is okay and they don't have to do any like recalls or checks or anything like that. But saying that, like there's the compensation that he's standing to get after August 3, and I think that goes up to 2024 is significant, and it's going to hurt the Mullen shareholder base a lot in terms of dilution. And plus, if there's money raised as well for and the selling of more shares, but you got to get even further dilution there. So I feel like I'd love to see some milestones put in there based on share performance, stock performance. That's actually a common milestone that a lot of CEOs are measured by. Obviously, Mullen's a sort of early stage startup company. Technically, they're pre-revenue, so it'll look a bit different, and so obviously it makes their shares a lot more volatile. But I feel like there's got to be something put in there about share performance, because really, under David Michery, the share performance has been abysmal. Obviously, there's been some, retail manipulation in the sense that we've had short squeezes and Russia, that whole EV bubble that Mullen kind of caught the tailwinds of initially. But the stock performance of Mullen, and the CEO is supposed to be acting in the shareholders' interest, is abysmal. It's terrible. Why are they giving him so much money? I get why people think he should be removed. I don't necessarily think he needs to be removed because he obviously knows what's going on with the company, but I think, they really need to reconsider the compensation that he's been getting, and, what the sort of damage he's actually done to the company by, just by, selling off his shares in the past. It's a joke. Anyway, keep it rolled up here. It shouldn't be doing this. It's a weekend. I'm meant to be relaxing. Yeah, all right. I'll leave it at that for this one. But it's like that the stuff around his conversation is it's a joke. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comments below. Love to hear from you all. Hope you're all having a great weekend. and may the markets trade in your favor. Cheers.